And that is the sound of England winning in Paris. Boos in the Paris night. England 3rd place in the Rugby World Cup. And yeah, the neutrals and the Argentinian fans not totally happy with the result. That's what we're going to talk about though. This result here in Paris, the 3rd place, 4th place playoff, which looked like for one point it could have gone to extra time. 23-26 it finished. England victors. And well, there you go. I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers. Hit subscribe on the channel. See you in a bit, Alfie. Last one, mate. Yeah, hit subscribe on the channel. Give the video a thumbs up, that really helps. This time tomorrow night, I mean, I hope the seats won't empty as quickly as they are right now. Maybe you can see from the picture there, but it's going to be a World Cup final being handed out in a day's time. This is the kind of game that no one really wants to be part of, having lost the semi-final. But actually, to be fair, you have to say thank you to both teams for putting out really strong sides. And I actually got a little bit into it, and when the teams ran out, I thought, all right, yeah, okay, we've got another game here. Before I actually start, the one thing I want to say is just thanks again to the players for whom that was their final match in international rugby. Augustin Crevi, Nicolas Sanchez, if that's his last involvement in international rugby, what an absolute legend he's been for Argentina. I hope he doesn't linger too much on the missed penalty kick at the end that would have brought it level. Maybe Nicolas Sanchez knew that we didn't really want extra time in this game, so he took one for the team and missed the kick. Let's just say that. Ben Youngs as well. He's been a great servant, England's all-time record cap. So fair play. Courtney Laws didn't play tonight, but what a career that man has had, an absolute legend. And there are guys like Joe Marchant, Dave Ribbons, who won't be eligible to play for England now because they're moving to play their rugby in France. So as the players all shake hands on the halfway line, as the little podium gets brought out to do the medal ceremony for the bronze medal, I'll just get stuck into this one just to say again, I'm so privileged to be here this weekend. I'll be here tomorrow night for the Rugby World Cup final, and I'm really, really grateful for the support you've given the channel, for the likes, for the subscribe, and please help me out as well, because it's just me and I need your help to spread the word. I'll still be making rugby content once the World Cup ends. I love my rugby, and I hope you do too, and keep following the channel. So, well, a strange feeling just as an England fan, because the first 13 minutes, that was absolutely exceptional for England. They were brilliant for 13 minutes, and they were going at a point a minute, and I thought, well, this is just comfortable. It was a perfect start, and then clunky England returned, slow, ponderous, couldn't get quick ball, couldn't kind of spark anything. And you have to credit Argentina, who suddenly clicked into gear as well. And so it ended up being a competitive game. And I guess what you can say is, a week ago, England had a lead and threw it away. And at least England didn't do the same this week. They held on to a lead. Not in the most exciting and glamorous of fashion, but they held on to a lead. And let's just talk about the positives from an England perspective. Totally in control. Really good try that they scored. Ben Earl finishing it with a lovely line. Farrell and Smith linking up. And it was looking great. England were messing up Argentina's line out. We're getting quick ball. We're kicking really well like they did last week. And do you know what made it even more enjoyable? How much Owen Farrell got booed by, clearly being booed by the French neutrals. I kind of love how hated Owen Farrell is. I don't know why. He is one of the best in the world, and all I could say to the French neutrals that were in the stadium tonight booing Owen Farrell, all I can really say to that is, if Owen Farrell had been French, they might be in a World Cup final this weekend, because the one thing you can say about that guy is, love him or loathe him, he's a big game player, and he is now also the top scorer at the Rugby World Cup. Just let that sink in. He missed the first 2 games, and he is the top scorer at the Rugby World Cup. Other than the one he messed up where the shot clock ran down, I think he kicked every single kick from the tee, conversions and penalties in the whole World Cup. I may be wrong on that, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's the top scorer. And when the big games come on, Matthew Jalabert was amazing in the pool stages, but then really did not look great against South Africa when it really mattered. And that's what I'll say. I've always, on this channel I defend Owen Farrell. I'll defend him again. He brings it when the big games happen. So, he answers all the boos on the pitch in the right way. He's a class act. As captain, I'm sure he'll come out and say that he's pleased with the win, but England's performance could have done with a little something. But you know what? This was one of those occasions, just like last week, it's all about the result. And last week England played really well. South Africa had an off night, and South Africa came through and they're playing in a World Cup final, because that is what these games are all about. Wasn't it great to see, though, Sam Underhill and Tom Curry back together in the back row, rolling back the years like 2019? And the one thing I couldn't escape from thinking, and if you're an England fan, tell me if you agree with this sentiment, but I was watching that game thinking, if Sam Underhill had been on the bench for England last week and not Billy Vunipola, and I feel a bit cruel saying this from Billy Vunipola's perspective, but if Sam Underhill was on the bench last weekend, England would be playing in a World Cup final tomorrow night. That is what I could not escape thinking during that game, because the energy that Underhill brought to it in a way that Vunipola didn't. But that's looking back. Let's look at what's going on here. Argentina won their way back into it by, well, firstly, Marcus Kremer is an absolute animal. Emiliano Buffelli is a top player, and their big players stepped up after a really slow start. Michael Cheika was absolutely fuming at a bunch of the decisions. What I will say is that, I don't know what you thought, the Argentina try in the first half, look, that pass looks a mile forward. Where I'm sat right now is directly opposite where the pass was given to Carreras on the left wing. It looked so forward, but they didn't even bother checking it. Fine, whatever, it was a good try for Cabelli, and Argentina were back in it. And I thought 16-10 at half-time wasn't good enough, really, as a reward for how much England had played and how much better they'd been than Argentina in that first half. And so it showed in the second half. It wasn't a big enough lead, and Argentina came back, went into the lead with that try from Carreras, which was just really bad defence. But the one thing you can say, it was a really bad missed tackle from Theo Dan. But the next play, he goes and charges down the kicks and makes up for his own mistake, at least. But what I will say, when I look at it from England's perspective, is the guys that hadn't had as much rugby, with the exception maybe of Underhill, the guys that hadn't, that were the backup players, maybe showed why they were the backup players, didn't quite bring it. And it's a tough one to get yourself up for, perhaps. The atmosphere wasn't quite what it was last week. There's not as much on the line. Argentina were desperate. They played with a desperation, but England will need to be better. But they won the game. I just keep going back to that. They won the game. And the fact that Argentina are standing around looking disappointed and Michael Cheika was fuming, maybe that says it all. It is all about the result. Owen Farrell there just walking back to his teammates. There's Courtney Lawes is down there on the pitch. What a guy. What a guy. I've loved watching that guy for 100 odd caps. Jamie George is running to the England fans, throwing his towels into the crowd. And, well, do you know what? It's a win. Marcus Smith walking over to the fans. Joe Marchant as well. You know what? They can be happy with an evening's work. It was a win at the end of the day. That's all I'll say about that. I'm going to go out and see what fans are milling around and start thinking ahead 24 hours to the World Cup final, which is where I'm going to be. I'm just absolutely buzzing. I'm going to be here with you and for the World Cup final tomorrow. So if you appreciate the content on the channel, I would love it if you'd hit subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, leave your comments as well. What did you make of that? What do you make of England, Argentina, and just generally your reflections on the World Cup? I'm having a blast, and I've loved having you with me.